shown a lot of expertise in the business of learning. So I'm really excited to be here. I also want to say that I'm grateful to Fantel Business School for this session. It has really not only enlightened the entrepreneurs, but it has also helped us, especially we that are in the industry, and we're also very much, so to say, ambitious of seeing how the region, especially the northern region, goes to higher places in terms of entrepreneurial development. So I'm really excited to be part of this session. I also want to say that I've also had opportunity to be in sessions that were done previously, such as the customer relationship building, the strategic market innovation, building strong personal brand by Mr. Marcela Bello, resolution of workplace conflict by Mr. David Dauda, and so many others that had taken place, especially also those ones that were done in Hausa language. I'm really excited. It's really an exciting, experience for us to have these sessions that have helped the team, to be able to move from one session to another. So I just want to ask this before we start the session. I want to ask the team, either by way of raising your hands, tell me what's your own understanding of internal communication. You can unmute yourself. If you raise up your hand, I'm sure the moderator will be able to give you, so that I want us to just have an understanding. And secondly, I would like in the chat room for the audience to state the method of internal communication they use. What sort of method do you employ within your organization to communicate internally among your team members? I also want to crave the indulgence of the moderator and the team or the audience to take out my video, so that I'll be able to manage my bandwidth. The bandwidth of my internet connection is really low. So for better transmission, I would love for that to happen, so that I can take off my video.
Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, can you see the projection I have made, or it's not yet there?
Yeah, it's displayed. It's on screen now.
It's on the screen?
Yes, your presentation slide, right?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Yes.
Okay, great. So I don't know who would like to go first in terms of the mode of communication that you use internally. I would love to have that while somebody volunteers to tell us the meaning of internal communication. I think this topic is pretty simple. From what it is, internal communication is something that it doesn't have to be very scholarly for one to know internal communication, right? We know what it is, but it's also important for us to understand that internal communication is very, very vital in organizations. And of course, that's one of the reasons why we need to measure, the level of success of its effectiveness within an organization. So I just want to ask from the team, what's our understanding of internal communication? And then I also want to have from the team here, or from the audience, the method of internal communication they employ within their own organization to communicate within the organization. No volunteers? The method you can actually just put in the chat room, so that we don't have to go through the method of unmuting you. Oh, great. So I have one that says the exchange of information within an organization. That's very correct. And then there's another one from Brahma that says talking with people around your community. It's also, if you say around your community, could it mean the community of the organization that you have? Because we're talking about internal communication, since this one is actually more related to businesses. So it's actually more about within the organization itself. Okay, one more or two more so that we can roll on. Okay, so I think let's dive into measuring or into the topic itself. I would like to start. I don't know if you can see my screen. Mr. Musa, can you confirm so that we'll be in alignment?
Yes, very well. Very well.
Okay, good. So I just like to start with this quote from George Bernard Shaw that says the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. So it's important within an organization or anywhere, to ensure that if communicating, make sure that the communication takes place. So having that at the back of our minds, let's delve into what it's all about. First of all, we need to understand what is internal communication. Of course, just like had been defined in the comment section or in the chat section, it's actually the exchange of information, ideas, and messages within an organization. It also means all forms of communication, both formal and informal, between employees, management, and other stakeholders within the company or within an organization. And effective internal communication is crucial for aligning employees with company goals. I think it's important to see two things that have been highlighted here: effective and then alignment. Because if you have an organization and you're making your internal communications, ensure that the communication is effective by alignment of the company goals to the individual communication that you're sending out, such that it fosters collaboration and building a positive organizational culture. So why does this internal communication matter? Why does it matter? It matters because it is vital for any organization. It shows information flows, how teams stay connected, and how employees understand their role in the big picture or in the bigger picture. And I think it's important for us to even come back to why the bigger picture. And that's one of the reasons why I highlighted the bigger picture. You as an employer or as an entrepreneur or the business owner, you already have your own business aspiration, which is your strategic aspiration, where you want to carry your business. And I remember one of those sessions that Mr. Hamza had taken one of the teams. I can't remember precisely the topic of the session, but it mentioned something around you having a vision for your business. First of all, you have to have a vision for your business. If you don't have one, there's the need to have that vision. And then when you have the vision, it's what you see, the strategic direction or aspiration that you have for your business. And then when you have that, you also have to develop the mission. So if your vision is where you want to see yourself in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or forever, that is a dream that you have. But then again, you need to have a mission. And what is your mission? Your mission is the vehicle that carries you to where you want to go to. And so you have to have a mission. If you have your vision is to be, let's say you're into bakery and you want to have the best bakery, in Nigeria, in northern Nigeria, the bakery that you want to be the most sought after bakery that has the best, in town. That's your dream, that's your aspiration. But then what's your mission? Your mission is to make, the most delicious or to make the most whatever aspect of your product that you have that is going to take you to where you dream to be. So you have that. You also need to have, that's within your bigger picture. You also need to have your core values. What are your values, right? What do you want to be identified with? What do you want to be known for in terms of your values as an organization, as a business? you would have established all of that. But you know what? When you do all of that, you would have communicated all of that externally. But then internally, you also need to ensure that you communicate that internally effectively, such that it is entrenched as a culture. It is entrenched such that every other person that is your employee or whoever is within the organization, be it a direct employee or an indirect employee within the organization, understand the role in the bigger picture. And so why it matters here is effective communication increases employee engagement, meaning that the employees know what is expected of them. So it makes them more active in the organizational activities. Second thing that it does is improve productivity. So they have all the information they need to deliver on their jobs, to deliver also to have an imprint in the bigger picture. And what you have on the next one is stronger company culture. So if you have entrenched communication that is being done, so the business becomes something that is known for. So they will be known for either efficiency, customer centricity, whatever that you have. It brings uniformity that people know that this is the culture of the business. And that is a positive culture that you want to entrench. It becomes a positive one. And then enhance collaboration. The more you have effective communication, it means that there will be exchange of ideas, there will be, teamwork among the different employees or the different groups or different departments that you have. And then it reduces working in silos, meaning that people will not be able to, your team members will not be able to communicate with one another more effectively, collaborate more succinctly as you would like for that to happen. And then, but how do we know if the communication efforts are actually working? So quite a number of times we have communications that we do, to the teams, and we assume that it is understood. Just like what Judge Bernard Shaw had said, it is not just enough to pass out the communication and assume that the message has been passed. We have to ensure that we go the extra mile to check, to know whether what we have sent out is really being communicated or that it's very effective, right? So why then do we measure internal communication? So it's very clear to understand what works. So if you have done your internal communication, you also want to measure the rate of that internal communication. You would like to understand what works in terms of the communication. So the methods that you have, just like somebody had mentioned in the group, that you use meetings. There are other organizations that use messaging. There are also those that use instant messaging, just like I mentioned. Different methods that they use. So why you measure the internet communication is to ensure that you understand which is the most effective way to communicate within that organization. I remember where I worked before, they do what is called employee survey. And now they ask to understand the number of responses based on the mode of communication that is being sent to. And of course, because of level of engagement or level of understanding of different employees, there are some that when you send them emails, they don't open emails. There are those that when you check their inboxes, you see that they have over 1,000 emails that they have not opened. But then there are those within the organization that as soon as an instant message comes in from either WhatsApp or you remember back then BBM, the sound of it alone gets them to rush to look at that communication. And so you have to understand which method you rather have, whether it's email. If you send email, it doesn't really work. And you would want the employees within the organization to be, responsible for communication that is being sent out to them. So you find out which method really works and is effective. And then it also improves engagement. So you would like to see if employees feel more connected and informed. So what what sort of internal communication measure do you take to see if the employees are more connected and informed, right? And then you also, for leadership in businesses, is the justification of the investment. Now, you have done an investment in, say, for instance, you have deployed Microsoft Teams within the organization. And then, of course, people collaborate in teams, they have meetings, they do virtual activities, they also do joint projects, right? So when they do all of them using uh, the the teams they provide, at least you would have been able to provide a sort of justification why the leader, the owners of the business, needed to have make that kind of level of investment. And of course, identification of gaps. When you do that assessment, you'll be able to identify or discover areas where communication is weak or missing. For instance, I just mentioned that you have team members that don't open messages when they're sent via email. But then again, you also have a lot of other people that don't open messages in WhatsApp groups. And so when you're doing your survey, you will understand why people don't go to those WhatsApp groups to read those communications that are very important in the organization, right? So it also helps with that level of knowing the effectiveness of the information that you're turning out there. And of course, you're not just turning out information, because for every information that you turn out, it is meant to have an effect either on the customer or on the bottom line or on the processes or on the policy or anything that you have already shaped in for your business. So it's not just about sending messages, it's about impact. Okay, so if you're doing, the next stage is actually setting clear goals for the measurement. So having established reasons why we need to measure the internal communications, be it understanding what method works, whether it's employee engagement or improvement, or identification of gaps, we need to set SMART goals. SMART goals, we all know they're supposed to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So if you're doing an assessment, you need to ensure that you set the goals such that you know what exactly you're looking for. So before you measure, you know what to achieve. You think about the communication you do. The goals should be specific. So what exactly do you want to achieve? Or what do you want to improve? For instance, if you want to increase employee understanding of new policy, you have set a new policy, you have a large organization or an organization that has many branches, and you want to be sure that the level of communication that has been sent out, that you want to understand whether there's an increase in understanding of the new policy, right? So next thing, in terms of the measurement, is it really measurable? How do you want to know, how would you know if you have reached that level? For instance, if you want to increase the understanding from 50% to 80%. Quite a number of employees don't really have an understanding, or in fact, not only even understanding. You will have communication that is being sent. You have quite a number of them that are not even carried along. So you just want to measure whether up to 80% their communication have reached them or not, right? So next thing is it realistic? Is this something that could be achieved when you set those goals? And they're relevant. Does it matter to the business? So if you're doing this measurement, does it matter? Is this something that's important? Is it worth doing, right? Is it worth investing in time to understand whether this mode of communication is effective or not? And then last but not the least is you want to be tied to a time. So whether it's time bound, when do you want to achieve it? Is it within 3 months or not? So next thing is measuring the success of the effectiveness of the communications that you have done in terms of the measurement that you've done. So for the methods. So how to collect information about your communication. You have different ways that you do to collect information about that communication. You have surveys and questionnaires, and these are typically, you ask employees about their own understanding. directly. Satisfaction and the preferred channels they prefer for for such survey that you're doing. An example is, how do you feel? Do you feel well informed about company news? Which communication channels do you use most often? So these are some of the things that you do ask the employees, and they give you the ones that they feel they would be more in touch with or in tune with, right? So when you do have that, it gives people, it gives the leadership, the ability to be able to tailor the communication methods to be such that it's more popular than going through the unpopular ones. And then you also have the focus groups and the interviews. You have deeper connections with the smaller groups to get detailed feedback. This is really in most times more effective, because when you have focus groups, you have everybody's attention. They're physically there, you're physically with them. You ask questions about what really works in terms of the communication that you churn out, and which ones did they feel more engaged with. That way you can quickly get the level of success with the communication methods that you do have. And next thing is communication channel analytics. Another one is, this is usually more IT based. At the background, you'll be able to check when you have your intranet or the email, how many have opened their emails, how many have done some certain clicks, how many have downloaded certain things that is required as an organizational thing. And then, of course, you also have the town hall meetings, and you also have those meetings. Now, in them, you monitor the attendance level and the engagement during question and answer sessions. That shows the level of success of those internal communications. And then, of course, last but not the least is observation. You observe how the information spreads and if employees are acting on communicated messages or not. Next slide takes us to the evaluation of business performance. So when you do all of that, once you have your communication data, you link it to the wider business results. Now, just want to be a little bit clear, this is usually for larger organizations, for organizations that have a larger workforce, that have different set of people in different departments, and they're usually either remotely located, or that if they're closely located, they are large number. So it's usually would want to have a situation where everybody is in alignment with the business corporate aspirations and objectives, and also the corporate goals that you have for the organization. So, of course, it also speaks to somehow relatively to smaller organizations where you would want to have some certain level of, communication method that you would like to have. I will speak to that at the end of the session. Now, so when you're evaluating the business performance, you look at employee retention. So employee retention, how well informed employees stay longer, or sorry, I take it again. Do well-informed employees stay longer? When you see that employees that are well-informed, they stay longer, it means that with your evaluation, it means that you're linking the effective communication to how employee retention goes. So we know that well-informed employees tend to stay with the company longer, right? Because feeling informed fosters greater job satisfaction. And engagement and, a sense of involvement in the company goals. If they have all of that information, they actually understand the company's policies, and they plan their work according to, to the contribution of the success of the organization. So another thing is productivity and efficiency. Has communication reduced errors or speed up processes? So you're also evaluating whether effective communication and how you evaluate how this effective communication works, whether it has improved productivity and efficiency, and it has reduced errors and speed up the processes. Customer satisfaction also matters because it goes to show that internal communication leads to better customer services. Has it done or not? If it has not done, it means that when you're doing an evaluation of business performance, you need to go back to the link as to where there are gaps. And these gaps are related to inadequate effectiveness of communication internally. And of course, last but not the least, it's important in achieving strategic goals. Did clear communication help the company reach its target? If communication, for example, if communication about a new sales strategy is effective, you might see an increase in sales figures. So if there's no increase in sales figures and you have been able to isolate other factors and you know that they are not the ones responsible, then you would have to come back to ensure that you know if the new communication strategy is effective or not. And I'll give you an example. So you have a new sales strategy that you have in your new business environment, and you only have communicated that strategy to your managers that are working directly in the organization as the CEO of the business. If you don't drill down to the bottom, you will find out that there are likely communication filters where either it's a filter or it's a distortion of what you have communicated at the higher level, right? So you need to ensure that the communication is cascaded. And then that's the essence of doing this evaluation of the effectiveness of the communication. Ensure that you drill down all the way to the lower level to understand that what you have set out as your strategic goals for sales, for instance, with your new strategy in sales, is actually cascaded to the lower level of the ladder of the sales team. Now, this is the end of the presentation for this, because I said, luckily, it's an internal communication is very very understandable based on what needs to be done. But it's important that we understand that whether an organization is very big or it's small, it's important that communication is it's cascaded such that the people at the lower bottom of the ladder who constitute the largest workforce understand what's important. So measuring how well informed communication works means checking if messages sent within the company are clear and they understood, and they also reach the right people. It also helps the organization see what is working and what is not. So you make improvement, and of course you keep the employees engaged and productive. It also means that you ensure everybody is working towards the same goals and show how important communication is to the success of the business. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for this concise and informative session. And this is just to show that yes, setting clear goals and measuring outcome is critical. And the most important thing is what keeping it simple so that everybody will understand, and make sure the information is passed from the top to bottom, as he said, cascaded. So thank you. We appreciate your wealth of knowledge and the knowledge that you have shared for us, and it is just so much on point. Thank you, sir. If you have a question, please you can raise up your hands, and if you'd like to use the mic, or probably you can also pop it in the chat box, so the facilitator can also do justice to your questions. Thank you, sir. So I'd like to chip in here that why setting clear goals and measuring outcome is critical. How can businesses ensure that their evaluation of internal communication goes beyond just quantitative metric, like maybe how many times they send a message or a message reach, like that, to capture qualitative aspects such as the trust, clarity, and employee engagement? So how can we measure that, sir? Hello, sir, you are muted. Uh, maybe network. Yeah, hello, sir.
Okay, sorry, I had a small glitch. My screen froze a little bit. So I got your question, Mr. Musa. How does a company, or how would the leadership of company ensure that it goes beyond the quantitative, but also ensures there's trust? And of course, you're very right. The essence of measuring communication is not just about measuring quantitative and knowing how many people have responded and how many. First of all, you need to, as leaders, you need to establish that trust. So how do you establish the trust? Is first of all getting the people to understand that it is for the overall good of the business and for themselves. And if they understand their roles in the bigger picture, which is very, very important, that I said in the first place, you need to have your team members to understand that this is where we are headed and we want you on board. Not only want you on board, we want you to, play your role such that we get to where we want to be. So of course we have a vision and we want you to be the driver of the vehicle. That's the mission, to ensure that we get to the desired level or desired dreamland that we have as a business. And so you do a lot that ensures transparency such that people understand that, whatever that they do, it's open, there's accountability, there's also, feedback, because effective feedback is important. So while you're transparent, you have people, you know, have the ability to come back to you to say, we feel this method or this process or this policy needs to have an alignment or an adjustment, and they feel, they are actually being listened to, and they see those adjustments take place. They would like to even take ownership of what happens next. So of course, when communication is passed down, they don't see themselves as numbers. They see themselves as drivers. So when they see themselves as drivers, they feel they own the business. And quite a number of times organizations try to make people, especially employees, feel that they are just numbers and they are not part of the success of the organization. The moment that is, then people become skeptical about, giving 100% of what they have. And then, of course, that's why a lot of people, when they see emails coming in from, let's say, HR or from Interpost, they don't usually go to look at them because they know that really this is just one of those things that are passed down to us. So once you're able to, build trust and people understand that they're just not numbers like you mentioned, the aspect of quantitative is nothing, because really you need the quantitative for you to be able to measure, because qualitatives are abstract, but then you also need to entrench a sense of trust. And when you do all of that with transparency, giving feedback and letting people understand that they matter, then it doesn't become an issue for the organization. And of course, a lot of things will go the way they should. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that informative feedback. That's true. Yes. When information is clearly passed to employees, in fact, they see themselves as drivers, and I must say that yes, I attest to that, and that's true. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Um, sorry, I can't see your name. Somebody who raised his hands up, please.
Okay,
Okay,
so I've seen a question from Rama. The Moose says,
Rama.
"Sir, I
Oh,
need
yes.
more explanation on SMART goals."
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I think for me, I think SMART goals is another topic for a session entirely. But I would just want to be brief. So if you have goals, let me say, if you want to see Rama now, you want to have a PhD in business administration, or you want to have a PhD in business management. So of course, that is your goal. You want to go somewhere, but then you would have to put things in place to be able to get to that, to achieve that aspiration that you have. So you would have to put things in place that is smart, measurable, right? Achievable. So you want to become a PhD holder. First of all, is this smart? Meaning, sorry, is this simple? Is it measurable? Yeah, you can measure whatever that you want to do, right? Is it achievable? Yes, it's achievable, right? So SMART goals are goals that are, just like I said in the earlier presentation, that you would have to have them, they're specific, then they're measurable, achievable, they're relevant, and then they're time bound. So you want to become a PhD holder, what do you need to do to have that PhD, right? So you would need to have certain qualifications, right? You have to have a master's, right? Then if you want to have a master's that is specific, then it's measurable. So you would have to measure, I'm just trying to put it whether having a PhD is something that we can put it under SMART, but I would love for, if there's anybody that can help me with something that we can now say it's has a SMART acronym on it. So let me just put it this way. You want to move your business, Rama, from you're doing 100 million, you want to move it to a 150 million. So now the question now to ask, you want to do 100 million, the goal is, it's specific. I want to increase my number from 100 million to 200 million. Is specific. You know exactly what it is. Now, is it measurable? How do you want to increase? I want to increase it by 100%. So it's measurable. Achievable. Is it realistic? Is this 100 million that you want to achieve, is it really that is achievable? Or you know that you cannot achieve, because for the one that you have done of 100 million, for instance, that you have done earlier, took you 10 years to achieve 100 million. Would you be able to achieve it in another year? Is it achievable? So if it's not achievable, that means you need to come back to the drawing board to say 100 million, from 100 million to 200 million in a year is not achievable. So you would have to come back to, come back to the drawing board again. Is it relevant? Yes, it is relevant because it is what I am doing in the business. So you can't say, okay, now I want to do the business that I'm doing now. I want to do the business of, aviation business. It's not relevant because it is not part of what you want to do, or it's not part of what you're doing. And then you understand. So time bound is within how long do you want to achieve it? Now you're giving yourself 1 year. And you have asked yourself, is it achievable to do 100 million? I don't know, Ramad, if I'm making sense, because at first I wanted to make it with a PhD, but I feel we're not in an academic line. So for us, let us just make it more relevant to something that we're doing. So specific, you want to increase your sales from 100 million to 200 million. Yes, very specific. Measurable. Yes, can we do it? Can I measure what I'm doing? So it means that I'm actually angling from trying to achieve, targeting to achieve another 100% of what I've been doing. Achievable? Yes, it's achievable. No, it's not achievable, right? Relevant, that's your R. Is it something that is relevant to your business? Is it something that makes sense? Because that's really what it's about, relevant. And then the T of the SMART is time bound. Would you be able to achieve it within, because you can't leave anything open-ended. So that's the concept of the SMART goals. If you have your goals, then they need to be that SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. I don't know if I have made sense to you, Rahmat.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think there's a confirmation in the chat box that yes, um, it's clear, and I think she has gotten the explanation on the SMART goals. Yeah, thank you, sir. Okay, please, uh, I think you can unmute yourself now, but I don't know whether it's a he or she, rather. Please kindly, you can kindly unmute yourself. Okay, because okay, if you have any question, if you have a question, please can pop it in the chat box. Use the Q&A, or you can raise your hands up so that we can also facilitate. Okay, okay, sir. Just a follow up and a quick one also. Um, I would like to maybe ask you this in person that from your decades of experience, what has been the biggest challenge in making sure that internal message are clearly understood by everyone? Is it the timing, the language, or the communication channel being used?
Thank you very much for that question. So let me just start by saying that, among the factors of production that we have, the most intricate one is the human capital.
That's
Humans are very, human beings are very, very difficult to manage. And different people have their different nuances. And so uh, communicating internally can be very daunting. Just like I mentioned, you have people that you send them an email and they will not see the relevance of that email until something that is related to that communication is sent out. And then they come back to say they are not even aware that there was a communication. And there are those I remember back in the days that would have deleted their emails if it's coming directly and they know that it's just one of those daily communications that you send out. And so it is not just enough to think when you send a WhatsApp message or an email that you have passed the message. There are a lot of times, based on experience, there are a lot there are a lot of times when you send out those communication, you also need to do a follow-up. And that's one of the reasons why I do a check with the team. If you send out a communication, I would love for you to acknowledge that communication. So if you don't acknowledge, it means that you have not read it. And sometimes when you send out the communication, you might say, please, I would like you guys to come to the office and say something. And they would interpret it differently. So it's also important to just note that when you send out an internal communication, you do a follow-up. And that's why it's important to have one-on-one conversation with your team members as often as possible to reiterate what you have communicated. Because you can pass a communication and then the communication does not go with a tone. And then sometimes the tone of communication is what is required for that message to be very effective. Because some will not read it the way you intend for that tone of communication to go out. And then there are those that you would have sent the communication to them with a tone that is very mild, and then they will read it differently. So it's, like I said earlier, it's very difficult sending out communication, reading communication, and assume people understand. And I'm happy now that people now can send communication via WhatsApp, Telegram, and others via voice note. And then you say exactly what you want for the team members to do. Or like those days where we had the difficulty where you communicate ABC and they read it as XYZ. And then they come out to do something entirely different from the directions and instructions you have given them. So yet it's very difficult internal communication. But at the same time, it's very easy when you have team, you do your own engagement with them one-on-one sometimes, and sometimes you call for a quick meeting, briefings in the morning, and you reiterate what sort of communication you are passing out in writing. And then you see how people come to alignment so quickly. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that brilliant response. Yeah, I like that. Thank you very much. Yes, and that's just to say that yes, there are different tools out there now that makes that we can use to ease our communication, and most importantly, making it keeping it simple and clear and concise, the language everyone will understand. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Um, okay, I actually don't know how I can describe this, but there is no name on your profile, but your hands is still up. If you don't mind, you can unmute yourself. If you have a question, want to contribute, you are very much welcome. Yeah, thank you very much. And I think, okay, oh, okay, okay. While we wait, probably you are typing or you typing your question in the chat box. Let me also use this medium to share our upcoming seminar, which is titled Pitching and High Performance Sales Management. Yeah, and in this session, in this seminar session, you're going to understand how can you even sell your business, and the essence is for you to make that high performance sales. So, so how can you do you even have the skills? You learn the skills of pitching, the skills of pitching your business, pitching your product to the right audience. So, please, I'll encourage us all to do well and register for this session so we don't miss out, and also harness the advantage and also get um, the full benefit of this upcoming business seminar. Um, so, so please do well to register yourself and also be part of this transition, because this is what Fantel Business School, this is our mission, to help develop your business and make sure you get it right. And doing this, um, we come up with different sessions from webinar to seminar, even boot camp. We organize all these sessions to make sure that yes, you are well equipped with the necessary skills that you can carry out your business professionally. Yeah, so please, I encourage us all to do well and register ourselves for it. And I'm going to pop the registration link in the chat box. And want to I also want to add that yes, you will be having a special discount when you register using the link that will be dropped in the chat box now. So for attending this session, I'll encourage you to do well to benefit from this special discount. Yeah, the link is in the chat box. Please do well to register. Use the link to register and benefit from this discount. Yeah, thank you very much. At this point, please just 1 minute before we can call it a day. If you would like to recordings of this session, please do well to drop your WhatsApp number in the chat box so we can also like add you to the group where um, we send out the webinar recordings. So you can also review it at your own leisure time. Because sometimes we notice the network sometimes interrupt the session, kicking you out, coming in, and thereabout. So you can pop your WhatsApp number in the chat box. So at the end of the session, then we'll also send you the recordings. Um, but from yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I see the numbers are coming. Yeah, thank you. So at this juncture, we would like to say thank you very much to our facilitator, and also thank you all to all the attendees. We appreciate and we value your time. We see how passionate you are in uplifting and also making a difference in your respective business niche. Thank you. We appreciate your time, and we'll say, okay, let's do this again next week, Wednesday. Thank you very much and have a pleasant night rest. Thank you all.